Hi, my name is Aviral Singh and welcome to another episode of All Things 3D. Today we will start learning about how to actually use the 3D printer. Today we will talk about the filament. What is a filament? What do we need to know about the filament? What settings are important for the filament? And how to load and unload the filament, which is the starting point for any printing process. So as you can see, the printer is all primed at this point in time. The filament is already loaded in here. The first thing we need to do is take the filament out. So you press the lever on the extruder and pull the filament out. Now that we have the filament out of the printer, we will now see what we need to do to actually put the filament into the printer. So the first thing we need to do is we need to cut the end of this filament and make a shape which will make it easy to insert into the printer. So this is how we cut the printer. This is a tool which comes with the printer, but we can also get spare ones. And we need to make an edge around this. Now, one of the tricks that I've learned is that we want to cut it with the longer side facing us. Now, what I've realized is if you cut it in any other way, this particular joint then we have trouble putting it through this joint. I've heard of people actually spending 45 minutes trying to put the filament through that joint. But once we cut it this way, it seems to go fairly easily. So again, we pull the lever back and we insert the filament through this. If you look at it from here, you can see that the filament is going through the extruder assembly and now has slid very easily into the Bowden tube. Let me replace this and we can keep pushing the filament in until we cannot push it anymore. As you can see, as we pushed the filament, it has already started to come out of the nozzle. Let us push it a little bit more using this knob. And as we push the knob, you will see the filament come out of the nozzle. Now, this is happening because we have already set the temperature to what we need to set the temperature to. So let's learn about those settings for a little bit. There are two settings which need to be done from a temperature perspective. The hot end temperature needs to be set and the bed temperature needs to be set. Not every printer has a heated bed, but heated bed typically give better results. Every brand of filament has a recommendation as to what temperature it works best at. If you look at this particular roll, it says that the print temperature should be between 205 and 225 degrees Celsius and the bed temperature should be between 60 and 80 degrees Celsius. If you look at the settings on my printer, you will see that I have set it to 205 degrees Celsius on the hot end and 60 degrees on the bed. Let's talk about why. One thing we have to realize is that when we talk about hobby machines, each machine is temperamental and slightly different from every other machine. So a lot of settings we need to determine by machine. If we have more than one machine, we have to look at the settings individually. And even the filament has a role to play in those settings. So the two settings we're talking about. First, the setting of the bed temperature. The bed temperature setting, I use 60 degrees because in experimentation, I realized that is the best temperature for what I print and how I print. It gives me the best results. From a hot end perspective, there are tools available. Now, machines like this have a lot of tools that you can use to tune your machines. Tuning your machines will get them to the point where they are printing the best possible and they can compete with much more expensive machines, believe you me. Now, what the tool for temperature for the hot end, this is called a temperature tower. I will actually include a link to the model of the temperature tower in the description of the video in case you want to use this model. There are multiple models available. Now, if you look at this temperature tower carefully, there are numbers which are going down the left side of it or the right side of it from your perspective. These numbers represent the temperature that particular section was printed on. This tower has features such as this slope and this overhang, which will allow us to determine at what temperature we are getting the best quality out of the print. In my case, I believe 205 degrees was the best quality I was getting, which is why I used 205. You also need to be aware that this could differ by not just the brand of filament that you use, but even the color or the kind of filament that you get. So every time you use a new brand, you should print a temperature tower to determine what is the best temperature for your machine to print that filament at. There's a lot more fun we're going to have with this machine going forward. Thank you for joining this episode, and I'll see you in the next one.